Fluency in English is something that so many people dream about. Think about it. The ability to communicate smoothly, to share your thoughts without hesitation. I remember when I was just like you, struggling, feeling shy and sometimes frustrated. Yes, I wanted to be fluent, but I was so scared of making mistakes. One day, my teacher looked at me and said, "You can become fluent if you practice every single day." Can you believe it? That one sentence changed everything for me. I realized that fluency is not a gift, it's a goal. And like all goals, you must work for it. Fluency doesn't come in a single day. Think of it like planting a tree. You start with a tiny seed, water it, give it sunshine. Every day, you care for it patiently, and one day, that little seed grows into a big, strong tree. Fluency in English is just like that tree. You have to nurture it bit by bit, day by day. And before you know it, you'll be speaking with confidence. One day, a student came to me and, oh, she looked so sad. She said, "Teacher, I want to speak English, but I always forget the words." I looked at her, smiled, and said, "Don't worry. Fluency isn't about remembering every single word. It's about practice, and trust me, you're doing great." Her eyes lit up with hope. "But how can I practice?" she asked eagerly. I told her, practice is everywhere. Talk to your friends, listen to stories, sing songs. Yes, even in English. Isn't that amazing? Every moment can be a practice moment. Back when I was in school, I loved stories. Every night, I would listen to my teacher read to us, and I'd repeat each word. At first, I was so slow, but guess what? With time, I got faster, my vocabulary grew, and so did my confidence. One day, a student asked me, "Teacher, is fluency just about speaking fast?" I laughed and said, "Oh no. Fluency is about speaking clearly and confidently so others can understand you. You don't need to rush, you just need to speak from the heart." I had a boy in my class once who spoke so fast, but honestly, no one could understand him. I told him, "Slow down. Speak clearly. Use simple words." And do you know what happened? Soon everyone could understand him, and he became so much more confident. He actually enjoyed speaking English. Fluency really is like a journey where you take one step at a time. Don't rush. Enjoy every step, because one day you'll look back and see how far you've come. Now let me share a secret with you. Are you ready? The secret to fluency is listening. Yes, listening. Listen to others speak English. Listen to stories, to songs, to conversations. The more you listen, the more you learn. I knew a girl who loved music. She would listen to English songs every day, and soon she started singing along. Her fluency improved just like that. Isn't that incredible? Let me tell you about something really important. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are your best teachers. I once had a student who was so scared of making mistakes. She would sit quietly because she thought everyone would laugh at her if she said something wrong. I told her, "Hey, don't worry about mistakes. Every mistake is a lesson." One day, she decided to try speaking in class. She made plenty of mistakes, but she didn't stop. And with every word she spoke, she grew more confident. That was the moment she truly started her journey to fluency. Thinking in English is another big step. When you think in English, you start to speak naturally. I had a student who would always translate from his language to English in his mind, and it made him so slow and confused. I advised him, try thinking in English. Even when you're alone, think in English. Slowly but surely, he became more fluent, and soon he was speaking without any translation at all. Another way to build fluency is reading. When you read, you learn new words. You see how sentences are formed, and you get a sense of the language. When I was learning English, I would read simple books. Every time I found a new word, I'd write it down, then try to use it in a sentence. I remember a student came to me with a book and said, "Teacher, I read this, but I didn't understand everything." I told her, "That's okay. The more you read, the more you'll understand." She kept reading every day, and over time, her fluency soared. Have you ever recorded yourself speaking? It's an amazing way to improve. I had a student who would record herself reading a story every day. She'd listen to the recording, find areas to improve, and soon she sounded so fluent. This is a fantastic exercise because it helps you become more aware of your own voice. Sometimes having a friend to practice with can make all the difference. I had two students who were best friends, and they decided to speak only in English with each other. Every day, they would have fun conversations, helping each other with words they didn't know. Over time, both of them became very fluent. Isn't that beautiful? They learned from each other and truly enjoyed the process. Fluency also comes from using English in real-life situations. When you're at the market, try speaking in English. When you're with friends, switch to English. The more you use it, the more fluent you become. I remember one student who worked in a shop. He decided to speak only in English with his customers. At first, it was hard, but with time, he became more confident and fluent. Real-life practice is so powerful. Curiosity is another key. When you hear a new word, don't ignore it. Look it up, find out what it means, and then try using it in your next conversation. I had a student who was extremely curious. Every time he heard a new word, he'd ask me about it. Then he'd use it as much as possible. His vocabulary grew and his fluency improved so much. Curiosity really pays off. Having a goal makes you more motivated. Ask yourself, why do I want to be fluent in English? I knew a student whose goal was to travel to an English-speaking country. Every day she practiced because she wanted to be ready for her trip. This goal kept her motivated, and by the time she traveled, she was speaking fluently. Enjoying the process is so important. Fluency doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but if you enjoy the journey, it feels easier. I had a student who loved watching English movies. Every night, he'd watch one. At first, he used subtitles, but after a while, he could watch without them. He enjoyed the movies, and at the same time, he was improving his fluency. Repetition is powerful. The more you repeat, the better you become. I remember a student who loved to repeat sentences. He'd hear something in class and say it over and over. This helped him remember the sentences, and soon he was using them in daily conversations. Practicing with different people also helps. Each person has a unique way of speaking, and by talking to various people, you learn different styles. I had a student who was very shy and only spoke to me. I encouraged him to talk to other students, and although he was nervous at first, he eventually became comfortable. His fluency improved so much. When you talk about something you love, the words come more easily. I had a student who was passionate about football. Every day he'd talk to me about it, and his fluency improved because he was speaking about something that excited him. Fluency also means being okay with not knowing every word. Sometimes you may not know the exact word, and that's perfectly fine. Try to describe it in another way. I had a student who would stop speaking if he didn't know a word. I told him, if you don't know the word, just explain it differently. This helped him keep the conversation going and stay relaxed. And now, the question is for you. What inspires you to keep going on your journey to fluency? Fluency in English also grows when you practice in front of a mirror. Yes, it may sound funny, but seeing yourself speak helps you become aware of your expressions and gestures. I had a student who was really shy about speaking in front of others. I suggested, why not practice in front of a mirror? At first, she felt a little awkward, but slowly she became more comfortable. Soon, she was speaking more confidently, even in front of others. What if you forget a word while speaking? Don't panic. It happens to everyone. Just take a deep breath and keep talking. Sometimes the word will come to you later. If it doesn't, use another word to describe it. I had a student who would stop and freeze whenever he forgot a word. I encouraged him, don't stop. Just keep going. You're doing great. Over time, he learned to stay calm, even if he didn't know the exact word. It helped him become more fluent and relaxed. Taking breaks is also important. Fluency isn't just about practicing non-stop. Sometimes your brain needs a rest. I knew a student who practiced constantly, and after a while she felt frustrated and tired. I told her, take a break, relax, and come back tomorrow with a fresh mind. And you know what? She felt so much better after resting, and her fluency kept improving. Remember, it's okay to take a breather. Using English in creative ways can make learning so much fun. You could write a short story, sing a song, or even make a video. I had a student who loved to write, so every day she would write short stories in English. This helped her practice new words and sentences. Soon, she started reading her stories aloud, and her fluency blossomed. Creativity makes learning enjoyable and gives you a chance to experiment with the language. Teaching others is another powerful way to become fluent. When you teach, you're also learning. I had a student who was already quite fluent, so she decided to help her friends who weren't as confident. She would teach them new words, practice conversations with them, and explain concepts. Not only did her friends improve, but she became even more fluent herself. Isn't that amazing? Setting a routine can be a game changer. Having a dedicated time for practice keeps you consistent. I had a student who practiced every morning for 30 minutes. This was his routine, and he followed it every day. Slowly but surely, his fluency improved. A routine helps you stay disciplined and ensures you keep practicing. Remember, it's the small, steady steps that lead to big progress. Being patient with yourself is crucial. Fluency takes time, and it's normal to feel impatient at times. I remember a student who wanted to be fluent quickly. He became frustrated when he didn't see fast results. I told him, be patient. You're improving even if it's slow. He listened to me, continued to practice, and over time he saw real improvement. Sometimes the journey is slow, but every bit of effort counts. Listening is just as important as speaking. When you listen carefully, you learn how to respond, and you understand the rhythm of the language. I had a student who was a fantastic listener. Before he spoke, he would listen attentively, which made his responses clear and thoughtful. Listening is a huge part of becoming fluent because it helps you pick up on nuances and understand different ways of speaking. Keeping a positive attitude can make a big difference. Learning a language can be challenging, but staying positive makes it so much easier. I had a student who always smiled even when she made mistakes. She would laugh, correct herself, and try again. Her positive attitude kept her motivated, and she eventually became fluent. Remember, positivity is like fuel for learning. It keeps you going even on tough days. Sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone is necessary. I had a student who was very comfortable speaking English in class, but felt shy outside of school. I encouraged her, try speaking to people outside too. At first she was nervous, but with time she became more confident and fluent. Taking small risks helps you grow and makes you more adaptable in different situations. Observing fluent speakers can also be incredibly helpful. Watch how they speak, listen to their intonation, and learn from their style. I had a student who admired a famous English speaker. She would watch his videos and try to mimic his way of speaking. Over time, she improved her own fluency, developing a style that felt natural and confident. It's important to every little victory along the way. Each time you learn a new word or speak without hesitation, celebrate it. I had a student who would celebrate even the smallest achievements, and it made her feel proud. These small victories motivated her to keep going. Celebrating keeps you aware of your progress, reminding you of how far you've come. What if you get stuck while speaking? It's okay to pause and think. Take a deep breath, collect your thoughts, and then continue. I had a student who felt very nervous whenever he got stuck, but I told him it's okay to pause. It's part of the process. This advice helped him stay calm, manage his pauses, and ultimately his fluency improved. It's also beneficial to practice what you've learned. If you pick up a new word today, try to use it tomorrow. I had a student who would learn a new word every day and then use it in a sentence. This helped him remember the words naturally and made them part of his daily vocabulary. Practice makes each word a lasting part of your language. Learn from your surroundings. Sometimes English is all around you, from signs to posters and even menus. I had a student who loved exploring the city. Every time he saw an English sign, he'd read it and try to understand it. This simple practice introduced him to new words and phrases that he could use in conversations. There's English in everyday life, if you look closely. Understanding the culture behind the language adds another layer to fluency. English is spoken differently across the world, and each culture has its own way of using it. I had a student who was fascinated by British English. She would watch British shows, read about their culture, and soon she started picking up different expressions and phrases. This helped her understand various speaking styles and made her more adaptable. Body language also plays a role in fluency. When you speak, your body language adds meaning to your words. I had a student who was very expressive. Even when he used simple sentences, His body language made him seem more fluent, and people understood him better. Learning how to use gestures naturally adds confidence to your speech. Challenging yourself to speak on unfamiliar topics can boost your fluency. I had a student who loved sports, but he decided to talk about science for a change. At first it was difficult, but with time he learned new words and became comfortable discussing different subjects. Fluency grows when you push your boundaries and try new topics. Being relaxed helps your words flow more easily. I had a student who was very tense when speaking. I told him, take a few deep breaths before you speak. Relax. This simple practice helped him feel at ease, and his fluency improved remarkably. When you're relaxed, the words just come to you. Asking questions is a fantastic way to start conversations. When you ask questions, you engage others, and it leads to more practice. I had a student who was great at asking questions about people's day, hobbies, and interests. This habit kept him constantly practicing and learning new ways to express himself. Reflecting on your progress is also motivating. Every few weeks, take a moment to think about how much you've improved. I had a student who kept a journal. Every week he'd write about his progress in learning English, and this reflection helped him see how far he'd come. It motivated him to keep going. Being flexible with your language is another useful skill. Sometimes you need to rephrase to make your meaning clear. I had a student who was very adaptable. If someone didn't understand him, he would change his sentence until they did. This made him more fluent because he could adjust to different situations. Connecting with other learners is so valuable. When you learn with others, you share experiences, tips, and encouragement. I had a student who joined an English club. Every week she met with other learners, practiced speaking, and gained motivation from their support. Learning together creates a positive environment. Setting small goals can make your journey feel more achievable. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent, try something specific like, I want to learn 5 new words this week. I had a student who set small weekly goals. Each time she achieved one, she felt more confident. These small steps added up, and soon she was speaking fluently. Persistence is key. Even when it feels hard, don't give up. I had a student who struggled with English and wanted to quit many times, but he kept going, and one day he realized he was speaking more fluently than ever before. Persistence pays off, even if it takes time. Sometimes it helps to review what you've learned. Revisiting old lessons reinforces what you know and makes you more confident. I had a student who would review her notes every month, and it helped her remember key points and use them effectively. Being open-minded also aids fluency. You might hear different ways to say the same thing, and that's a wonderful part of learning a language. I had a student who loved learning about different dialects. He would explore how people from various places spoke, making him adaptable and fluent in different settings. Enjoy the language. Find something you love in English, whether it's a book, a movie, or a song. Enjoying the language brings a natural passion to your learning. I had a student who adored English poetry. Every day she'd read poems, trying to understand and feel the language. This made her more passionate, and her fluency improved as she connected with the words on a deeper level. Asking for feedback is also a powerful tool in becoming fluent. When you speak, Ask someone to give you honest feedback. I had a student who would always ask for feedback after speaking. This helped him see areas for improvement and understand what he was doing well. Feedback allows you to grow and become a better speaker. Another effective way to improve fluency is by using flashcards. Write down new words on flashcards and review them regularly. I had a student who made flashcards for every new word he learned. He would go over them daily, and this helped him remember the words and naturally use them in conversations. Flashcards are a simple yet powerful way to reinforce your vocabulary. Being comfortable with silence is also part of fluency. Sometimes you need a moment to think before you speak, and that's okay. I had a student who was afraid of silence. He thought he had to respond immediately. I told him, "It's okay to pause and gather your thoughts." This made him feel more comfortable, and he began speaking more clearly. Learning phrases instead of just individual words can also make your sentences sound more natural. I had a student who focused on learning phrases, and it transformed her speaking style. She was able to form more fluent sentences, and it made her speech sound more connected. Phrases help you understand how words work together in real contexts. Being curious about the world adds excitement to your language learning. When you explore different cultures and ideas, you have more to talk about. I had a student who loved history. His knowledge of various topics made him an interesting conversationalist, and it enriched his English vocabulary. The road to fluency isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. Just like a river flows steadily toward the ocean, your efforts will carry you closer to your goal. Fluency is not just about speaking smoothly, but about connecting with others, sharing your unique voice, and building bridges of understanding. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, is like adding another brick to that bridge. It leads to new understanding, friendships, and opportunities. So, keep learning, keep speaking, and let your voice be heard. You are on a journey, and every step brings you closer to fluency. And now, I have a question for you. What inspires you to keep going on your journey to fluency? What motivates you on this incredible path? Remember, every step you take is an achievement,